All right, so today we have a special guest with us. Ashley is with us, and this is Ashley's first podcast, as we discussed in the pre-podcast setup. Yeah, I just wanted to bring you on. We've been friends for a while now. Because we've shot together
since 2015,
it's been like
I think.
Yeah, about 10 years at least. Yeah. We've done a ton of, if you go to the photography page, a ton of the shoots, from you, because we reconnected kind of recently, and we've been shooting more.
Within the last 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. And so, we've always had a lot of fun shooting together. We do some great stuff. But yeah, we connected like almost 10 years ago now. And that's when we first did our shoot together. And just Ashley is just a cool person. So I wanted to bring her on and talk about her story. Especially with what's new in life for me. I've started a new business and a new venture, and we're about 4 months in now. And there's a lot of challenges that come with that. Yep. And Ashley has started a business. You started just over a year ago. You celebrated your 1 year anniversary.
Yes, 1 year anniversary was September 6th.
Awesome. So let's just start. So go ahead and introduce what you do. You can talk about your business a little bit, and then maybe just talk about how it came to be where you started this new venture for yourself.
Okay.
Just dive in.
There's a lot there. Yeah. I own a roofing company, Southern Custom Construction and Roofing, out of South Carolina. And like I said, we've been in business just over a year. Obviously, we do roofing. Construction, we kind of keep to just like siding, soffit, fascia, exterior of the home. We don't do a whole lot of interior yet, because that's something you kind of got to work into to make sure that you're providing. I can have anyone slap up some drywall, but it won't look good, and I stand behind what we do. So we're, got to make sure that we've got the right crews and all that for that. You said, how did I get into it?
Yeah, how did you get into it? Because I remember before you were not in the roofing industry.
So, yes. My resume is quite long. I've
Diverse.
Done a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But it's always been sales related. And so I actually worked for two previous roofing companies prior to owning this one. The first one, we actually just passed, I think 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I'd applied for a sales position to sell roofs. And that's kind of what got me into this industry. And so at that company, my business partner and I met at that company. And at that time, we had taken that, more him than me. I'm going to give him all the credit on that one, but he had taken that branch from about $150K in revenue a month to $645K in revenue a month. That took a few years. That's why I said that was primarily him. We both kind of left there in not such a great way. There was a lot of toxicity, a lot of poison in the water. And it just became not a very great place to work. They had actually fired him and kept the one person who was perpetuating all of the toxicity. And I went to the owner and had some choice words with him. And when he basically told me that I was wrong for what I was saying, I also left in a not so great way, middle fingers up and guns blazing. And I actually said, F the roofing industry, never doing it again, went back to selling cars. Sold cars from February to May. So was that 3 months? 3 months?
Yeah.
And I got poached from another roofing company, and they said, come aboard. We've seen what you've done. We could use you. I got there, and it was chaos. because it was actually one of the subs that previous company had worked for that was trying to branch out into doing sales as well. And so their first month with me, we did $30,000 in revenue, and that was just really essentially my sales on top of trying to train a bunch of people. And so I, reached out to my business partner now, and I was like, hey, they could really use your help. And so he came on board, and within 3 months, from May until August, we had taken them from $30,000 a month in revenue to $300,000 a month in revenue.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then they didn't want to pay us.
Oh gosh.
So it was another not so great exit. And we were like, you know what? We can just do it ourselves. And here we are.
Seems to be a common theme with people.
Yeah, literally, he loves to tell the story because we went out to eat. We were at Carolina Ale House, drinking a beer, eating some wings, and I'm crying because they still to this day owe me between $4,000 and $5,000, and they owe my business partner $30,000.
Gosh.
Yeah, and so I'm like, what are we gonna do? We have no money. We have no jobs. Like, and we kind of accidentally stumbled into this because all of the distributors at this point knew who we were because they had seen our track record, and so they were actually the ones who reached out to us, and they were like, hey, we heard you started your own roofing company, and we were like, I don't know where you heard that, but what are you thinking? And they're like, we can get you a credit account with, I think it was only $15K credit limit at that point, $15,000 credit limit. Let's freaking go. And so I'm crying in Ale House and eating wings and drinking beer, and here we are. Flash forward to 14 months later, and I think we've done 122 roof installations from year to year, and I know by the end of this year we're projected to hit $2 million in revenue.
Jeez.
So, yeah, we're doing all right.
So really, all of this was birthed out of you two just sticking to your guns,
Yeah.
doing your business, building reputations, and then standing by your values in business.
Yes.
And not putting up with people trying to screw you over and swindle you and do stuff.
Correct. Yeah. No, our company motto, is integrity first, service always.
And you've really shown that with the way that you've done business while working for other people. And then in that, you built that reputation.
Correct.
And you had the other companies reaching out to you, the suppliers and stuff, asking you basically to start a business because they wanted to work with you.
Yes.
I mean, that says a lot about your character and reputation right there, right? That you've built that reputation, and they're like, oh, we heard you start a business. And you're like, wait, what? No, but maybe we should.
That's literally how it went. We were like, I mean, sure.
Gosh, what a great testament, though, to your quality and characters and how that comes into your business, because I'm sure that's given people confidence, too, because a lot of those businesses, right, like roofing and those like trade businesses,
they have such bad names, bad reputations.
Yeah. Well, and then the thing is, when you have a good reputation, word spreads, right? Like,
correct.
People talk, and people are like, hey, do business with them because they actually do what they say they're going to do.
So our first quarter in business was, it was just my business partner. His name is Ryan. Ryan and I, it was just all of our referrals. So it was because we were still building everything, right? Paperwork, processes, all of that. And so our first quarter we only did, I think it was 150,000 in revenue. But that was referral only. That was no marketing, no trying to sell anything. It was phone calls of, hey, I need a roof. So-and-so told me that you did this. And I mean, to do 150K in a quarter, I mean, some roofing companies don't even do that in a year. Yeah. So that does say a lot about the referrals and our reputation in the industry.
Is is the roofing industry a competitive market?
Oh yeah, and so we're based out of Columbia. In Columbia alone, I think we've got 28 competitors, and that's just
Oh,
in
geez.
Columbia. That doesn't include the suburbs or anything like that.
Okay, so yeah, it's not like there's only a handful of businesses that can do this. It
No,
really
there's
is
tons.
a
Yeah,
competitive market.
new ones pop up. I swear every other day. It seems like, um, and I mean, so it's actually kind of ironic. The where our office is, we joke and we say it's the roofing highway. So we're on St. Andrews Road, and on St. Andrews Road, you've got modern roofing, you've got Bergen roofing, you've got a billboard for Crosby roofing, you've got I think it's Magnolia roofing, you've got Indigo roofing, like just on our street.
It's like here
Like
in Charlotte, you've got one street that's all car dealerships.
yeah, same,
It's like that
except
for
for the
roofing.
roofing industry. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, this is a really fascinating story because, again, you worked for other people. You're both out of the job because you didn't want to deal with them the way that they were doing business. You had people reach out to you. So you're talking about your first quarter was referrals. Now, did you go out and seek business, or was it really just a lot of the referrals coming in? Like, what kind of was that ratio? Because
In
you
our
said there was no
first quarter,
marketing or anything. Yeah.
yeah, our first quarter was only referrals. We
Wow.
did not. I didn't do any kind of. I mean, we had our Facebook page, but if you were to scroll back then, it was so rudimentary, and I kept forgetting because that was before we started hiring people to help us with with
Yeah.
that because we couldn't afford it. Like it's like some selfies on a roof. Like it was not any, like a hey, call us if you need us. But that was essentially it. It wasn't. There was definitely no
You weren't going out
push.
looking for
Yeah,
business,
there was no push for
marketing,
that.
no paid Facebook ads or anything like that.
No, no. We actually
So,
haven't done a paid Facebook ad ever
oh,
in our year so far.
interesting. I mean, that's, I think a good thing to look at for your business. So if your business has
Oh,
been growing
absolutely.
that
No,
year,
I think we're going to be doing our first one for a Black Friday sale that we've got going on. But that'll be the first one in 15 months that we've been in business. So,
geez. So I'm just making some notes here because there's some questions I want to ask as we move on.
absolutely.
Okay, so first quarter referral only. Your business is doing its thing. You're moving forward. So talk about maybe like what were the challenges that you saw, and like let's just cover the first maybe 6 months of your business, right? Because
So many.
as anybody that's tried to do anything new, you know that it's not easy starting a business, even if you have referrals, right? Like you had a small loan to start out, you had people behind you, but there's always going to be challenges in starting anything, right? So, what were some of the challenges you guys faced in the first 6 months as far as like building this thing?
Number one thing would be money. Absolutely. Because like I said, we started this with no money. The credit accounts that we had with our suppliers, those are credit accounts. So, I mean, $15,000 credit accounts between two distributors is only $30,000. The average roof costs us between $6,000 and $10,000 in materials. So at 15K, you get maybe two roofs. So
Yeah,
by four roofs, we were maxed out.
yeah,
And you got to pay them before they give you more.
yeah,
So the way that we primarily work is through insurance. And the way insurance pays out on these jobs is you get an ACV, actual cash value check, up front, which is what we were using to basically front the materials. But sometimes, on a $15,000 roof, that ACV can be anywhere from a thousand to damn near the whole thing. It just depends on the roof itself. And then they don't pay the rest of the amount until after the job is done and completed, and it can take up to anywhere between the day you file it to a month or two later before you're getting that money. and it depends on the insurance company and everything like that. On top of they send it to the customer, and you have to hope that the customer's honest enough to give it
Oh
to you.
man,
We've had to file about 4 liens on people's homes because they don't want to pay the rest of that amount.
they get that money and they're like, nope, I'm keeping this.
Yeah, and it's like, but
Jeez.
you got a roof, so
Yeah. It's like service has been done. You have a bill. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, like a part of me wishes I could be a brat and be like, all right, well, I'm gonna start ripping shingles off your roof. I can't.
I
So
could totally see you doing that too. Climbing up there and just ripping stuff.
like, you don't want to pay me, you don't get a roof. But we do everything, the right way. And we get it. Times are tough. Sometimes if you get, because some of these checks, people are getting $10,000, $15,000. Like, I get it. Like, especially with the economy, I get it. That looks real
Yeah.
nice. However,
However,
you said you're going to pay us this. We did the work. You got to pay us.
Yeah.
And like I said, out of 122 roofs, we've had 4 like that. That's really not a bad ratio.
yeah, I feel like that's a decent percentage.
Yeah, it's really not bad. But money was the biggest struggle. Because, like I said, we started this with nothing. And I don't know if you know this, but when you are in a brand new business, everybody, in order to get really any kind of substantial loan, all banks want you to be in business at least a year.
Yep.
And it's like, you see, I want to be in business a year, but I don't have the money to do so.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of private loans. My parents gave us a loan that we've paid back and things like that. So that way we were able to stay afloat. But yeah, that, like I said, money was number one for sure.
Big challenge, yeah.
Biggest struggle. And I think had we planned on this, right? If this was something that we planned, it wouldn't have been so bad. But like for me, the last 2 years have been utter chaos. At least financially, because I did the 2 dumbest things that you can do, which is get a divorce and also start a business. So I had $0. And every penny that I, have had, I've reinvested back into the company.
Yeah.
So that's, the main struggle. I think number 2 would be getting systems and processes in place. Lines of communication between subcontractors and our people here in the office, hiring office staff, because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Hiring people is a challenge.
Yeah. Because now you have other people's livelihoods in your hands.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't hire people up until after our first quarter. Actually, I think we're right at our first quarter, because Kim actually hits her 1 year November 27th, so she was our first employee. I'm super excited for her for that, because she has been in the trenches with us. But she's been the best hire ever. And if she ever decides that she wants to go somewhere else, I'm probably going to kidnap her and not let her leave.
It's like you want to see people grow and move on to big things, but not Kim.
Yeah, not Kim. No, I'll just keep giving her raises. It's fine. Because she's amazing. We could not run without her. And she knows it too, which is great. I love it. I said something. I was like, "You're going to get in trouble doing that." And she goes, "No, I'm not." I was like, "You right." But yeah, I would say systems and processes and hiring. Those would be the next most difficult challenges.
So I know when we shot last, we were chatting a little bit about, business and stuff, because I started, we started our own business, and we're in the first 4 months now. But I had asked you, was there ever a time in your first year when you felt like giving up? And but just talk about that a little bit, maybe, because I think a lot of people experience that when they do anything new. It doesn't have to be a business, but when you're taking a big risk, you're stepping out and trying something new, there's always going to be that feeling of wanting to give up or give in, or oh, maybe this isn't the right thing. So maybe talk about that. Talk about some of the challenges you faced in yourself, right, personally, and how you pushed through that, and your mentality through that.
So change is scary.
Like you said,
And
you
I
went through two big changes.
Yeah, and I like change for me. I'm like, bring it on, right? I made up my mind in an hour to move across the entire country when I was 20 years old. Like, bring it on. I love change. Um, this was a different level, um, because instead of the main thing being no steady paycheck, right? So instead of having, even if I was making garbage for money, like say 25K a year, which is garbage, right?
Hmm?
At least I could count on that
Yep.
and be like, all right, I can pay this bill, this bill, this bill, right?
Hmm.
Uh, when you go into business for yourself, you don't have steady income at all.
Nope.
It's
No
like
guarantees. Yep.
none. I mean, I'm just now getting to a point where I'm kind of caught up on everything, because I mean, we didn't pay ourselves from September until April.
Hmm.
The owners were me and Ryan. We didn't pay ourselves at all. It was living on credit cards, and those are maxed out, and and you know just struggling ramen noodles,
Yep.
uh, like you just you know it's that is was probably the biggest challenge. And I honestly gotta say, if I was doing this alone, I probably would have quit.
Hmm.
If I didn't have a supportive business partner who is like, look, I get it, I'm here in it with you, there is light at the end of that tunnel, I probably would have quit.
Yeah.
um Yeah, I
That's
probably
big.
like there were so many times where I was like, just fire me. Just say that you don't want me to be your business partner anymore. I'm fired, and just let me walk away from this. And he was like, no. He's like, no, I'm not going to give you the easy way out. Because he knew that also I wouldn't do it on my own. I'd have
Yeah.
to be forced out, because I'm pouring all of my blood, sweat, tears,
Yep.
life into this. This is our baby, right? So he knew that if he said no, I would stay. But he also knew that if he said yes, I would be like, all right, cool, finally, you released me from this duty. Um, um, yeah, no, there were so many times where I'm in tears, like, is this really, praying to God, is this really the path? Like, I could go back to selling whatever and I could be making money. But there was just always, be a God talking back, I don't know, or just a gut feeling. But there was always something that was like, no, there is light at the end of this tunnel. Push through. You've got this. And then also I have the support of my amazing family, like my
Yeah.
parents and my grandma. Like, I don't think I've ever seen my grandma so proud of me in my whole life, which is like, I'm in my 30s and she's just beaming. She's like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, I think that's the first time you've ever really said that in my whole life, but I'll take it. So, that's a motivator too.
Yeah.
I think mainly just having that support system really is super important for any kind of change. Because if you don't, then you're going to feel alone, and you're going to feel defeated and downtrodden anytime you do come into an issue. And you're gonna have so many issues starting a business, whether it be money like us, or I don't know, because there's so many different industries. I know so
Yeah.
many different people struggle with so many things when it comes to opening a business.
There's going to be struggles, I think, is the constant
Yes.
across all industries.
Yes.
Whatever it is, there's going to be something. You might have the capital to do it, but then you're going to find other challenges, whether it be people or
Correct.
resources or
Yeah.
Even
Like
just
if you've
self-doubt.
got a brick and mortar, it could be location,
Yep.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for you, like, was there a turning point or a point at which like you had to make an adjustment or a change for the business to continue to grow? Like you got to a point you're like, oh, hey, we need to stop doing this or maybe start doing this. Just like any adjustments you made to elevate to a new level or in a new direction.
So we actually hired a business consultant. Because we were looking at our cogs and we could just see something was wrong, right? We were not making the profit that we were supposed to. And to be fair, Brian and I both like to spend money because we both are the type of person that is you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had spent money that really wasn't a good return on investment. Unbeknownst, because as you know, when you're opening a business, you don't know, like you don't know until you try it.
Yeah.
And so like we had put it after our first quarter, we had put an ad in a magazine that was freaking costing us almost $8,000 a month,
Jeez.
and we had a total of one whole phone call from that.
It's a very low ROI.
Yeah, not worth it at all. Obviously, we've canceled that.
I didn't know people still advertised in magazines.
Yeah, and
I'm in
Yelp.
marketing.
Yep, and Yelp and that type of thing. Like we did an Angie's List, like because we were just like, all right, we need to start marketing because while we did great with our referrals, we got to have
Referrals
more
are
than
gonna run
yeah.
out. Yeah, yeah. You need to generate some new stuff.
And so those investments, were not the best to say the least.
But it's what you
And so,
knew, right? Like it's what you guys
yeah,
came up with, and you're like, hey, this is what we've seen in the past, and maybe it'll work for us.
yeah, and it didn't, and that's okay. So we actually hired a business consultant, and he came in, and he watched us for like 2 weeks. And then he told us everything we did wrong. He was also an investment. I think we paid $70,000 for him. But he was worth every penny.
Yeah, the return on
'cause
that's a little bit better than the magazine ad.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's been great. He not only did he give us business advice, he's given us personal advice too, because he's an older guy, and so like, he's like,
Seen some stuff.
giving you some of this for free. But he did. He helped us. He helped us with some systems and processes. He helped us cut down on spending and actually creating a budget, because that was a huge problem. We didn't actually have a budget. We were just kind of throwing money out wherever. He helped us with better communication skills as far as it between the departments, and so when you're a business owner, you kind of wear all of the hats, right? And ideally, we don't want to wear all the hats eventually. And so he kind of helped set a plan to where we won't have to, So we're not quite on trajectory for that, but we're following it as best as can be.
Better than if you didn't have a plan, though.
Correct. Yes, much better than if we didn't have one. But he was probably our best investment so far, and that turnaround really it's increased our profit. It's increased our communications. It's lowered the amount of tasks that we do on a daily basis. Because Ryan and myself, we were working from 7, 8, 9 in the morning to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every day. It's real easy to get burnt out that way. Yeah. And we were approaching burnout fast. So he really helped us learn how to delegate better. So that way we go to bed at a decent hour. I'm in bed, 10, 11 o'clock now instead of 2, 3, 4 a.m. Yeah. Because, I don't know how many times we're on the phone, Ryan and I, at 3 a.m. hashing something out, you know. That's and like that's not when you're at your best either. So
Yeah,
they're
it's true.
like a lot of that was like building training for employees and stuff, and I couldn't tell you how many typos and things like that you find because you're just tired at that point. Your
Yeah.
brain's exhausted, that type of thing. So we've definitely gotten better at the delegating and that type of thing.
I think an important thing that I see here, and I think a good message for people, is that you and Ryan were both very successful as salespeople. Like
Yes.
you did well, and just because you're successful and good at sales doesn't mean you're going to automatically be good and successful as business owners.
Oh my God, facts.
Like you can sell, but when it comes to doing the business, like that's something I've noticed even when we've started our business. And we've had some very deep, serious conversations the past week, really. And it's I'm great at selling, and I always have been. Whatever role I've been in, I've been good at selling and connecting and building that relationship. But when it comes to the ownership of the company and running a company, sometimes I'm just like sitting here, I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do. And I know what if I can get the conversations with the people, I can sell it. I can motivate people and get them connected and excited about something and get it moved forward. But it's how do I now build those connections, right? How to find the business, and then even the conversation has been, what do we actually want to do with the business? And when I first started, I think it was a shotgun for me. It was just like I can do so much in the media field and marketing that I was just doing a little bit of everything. And now we're finally getting to the point where like we're finding what we actually enjoy doing and what we want to do. And since Rachel and I have been on the same page, because I'm sure you and Ryan have, you know, had to get on the same page with stuff.
Yeah, we've
Especially
always
being
been in the
business partners.
same book, but not always on the same page.
See, and that's important, right? Like, so you both have this goal. So with Rachel and I, we've kind of been in the same thing, right? I like that. We've been in the same book, but not on the same page. And really kind of sitting down and having those conversations, especially if you have a business partner, and getting on the same page has helped us so much because I feel like since we've started to do that, even just in the few days, it seemed when we did that, the business started shifting. The conversations, the people that were reaching out to us, and like you said, whether it's God, the universe, whatever it is, it's things are starting to come in and opportunities are starting to present themselves that weren't before, but that are aligned with what we've decided we want to be aligned with. And it's just been this really interesting time. Because even today we had a phone call with a company that has a potential to be a very big deal and lead into more big contracts with them. And it's doing stuff that I enjoy doing, event coverage and content and things like that.
That's exciting.
It is. And so, but it didn't happen until we started to get on the same page together with what we want to do and how we want to run the business. So, with you and Ryan, your business partner, what were some ways that maybe you saw that you weren't on the same page, that you made adjustments, and how you got to that point where you got on the same page?
So at the beginning of this, I talked about what we did, right? And I said we mainly do exterior. When we first started, we were trying to do everything. Interior, windows, you name it, we were trying to do it.
Let me ask you though before you get into more. So when you started, you were trying to do a bunch of different things. Why was that? Was it like what? Can you kind of look at maybe the reason? Because I know for me, I was just trying to find business. I was just trying to make money.
A
So
little of that, but also, so like I said, we do a lot of work with insurance companies, and so, like Hurricane Helene, a lot of people, they've got 6 different trades in their insurance company or in their insurance claim. Their fence was blown down, so it's fencing. Their roof was tore off, so it's roofing. Tree removal. If the tree fell on the house, now you got framing and drywall, and if they've got leaks, you've got interior. So we were trying to be a one-stop shop for the homeowner
Yep.
to make their lives easier, which is great, and I think one day we will be there. Not today, but one day. And that caused a lot of issues because we were trying to do so much that we weren't really vetting our subcontractors for some of those things. And, warranty. Now we've got warranty claims that we've got to go back and we've got to fix, and we've got, so it's costing us more money versus we all got on the same page and we're like, look, our guys are fantastic at roofing. We know roofing. We know some of the same guys can do siding. I trust them. We can do siding.
Yeah.
We can do, the fascia, and we can do soffit. That's about where I want to draw the line, because we have to find other subs for all of these other things. And that's time consuming, because you got to vet them, you got to interview them, you got to see their work, etc. But also, it doesn't matter who you hire, your name is on their work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's been the toughest thing. I mean, I had one subcontractor for interior work, and thank God it was a referral, and it was I wouldn't say a friend, but an acquaintance that I used to work with. So she trusted everything. But after the guy finished the interior work of her home, she was like, I just wanted to let you know that every time he was here, because I think he ended up being there 2 or 3 days, she goes, he just reeked of alcohol. And I'm like, that's great.
Oh my God.
Like, fantastic. Thank you for telling me, because had she not, I would never know.
Yeah.
But just little things like that, like, that's my name on this guy who's coming in drunk, trying to do a job. That doesn't look good for me. So obviously he's no longer a subcontractor with me, but just things like that, we really had to take a step back, and that was part of the consultant that we brought in. Like, he was like, you guys are doing too much. But we had daily conversations where we were coming up with what he called UDEs, undesirable effects, coming up with them, and then the solution to them. And that included our CFO to make sure that, whatever solution we came up with, if it cost money, it fit into the budget. Because, we've got a lot of great ideas, but can we afford them? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. and so, we really came together with that and got on, like I said, we've all been in the same book, maybe even some of us in the same chapter, but now we're all on the same page.
Yeah. I think I see there is that you said is you hone in on specific things, and you kind of hone in on a couple things, and then as you get those down, then you grew from there. But then you also said that, okay, this is all we want to do, right? Maybe these like 5 or 6 things are all we're going to do. Could we do more? Yes, but we're going to keep it to this. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, is that, right, you know your limits. So you don't want to spread yourself too thin. So you're still offering a variety of services, but you started with a couple. You got those down really well, and then you started to add more on, and you're going to stop yourself from going too many because you don't want to dilute the quality of everything that you do. So I think that's another thing, right? It's you got to start somewhere. Yeah. And so I think, maybe throwing a bunch of things at the wall when you first start is a good way to kind of start. But then you see, okay, like what Rachel and I did, we had a bunch of different things we were doing, but now we're seeing, okay, we really like doing this, and we're really good at this, and this just clicks with us. Yeah. And so then we're focusing on that.
I think when you start a business, it's hard to know what your niche is going to be, especially if you're so good at so many things. I mean, like both Ryan and I, we have such an extensive background on so many different kinds of things. I've sold anything you can think of. I've sold it. He was in the military. He's done, like, he used to install gutters. We both have done so many different things, and we're like, we know we're good at all of the things. We knew roofing, and we were like, we can do it all. And found out quite quickly maybe that wasn't the best idea. But I think that's very normal for any business starting, I think.
Were there some things that when you started your business that you thought you were really good at, but as you went on, you realized, oh, I'm actually maybe not that good at this?
People. So I am good with people. Obviously, you have to be when you're in sales,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it's a different level of people that you have to deal with when you're their boss.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm very, I mean, you know how I am. I like to cut up. I say what I think, and I don't really have much of a filter. I've had to develop that for sure. I mean, there's so many times where I want to, like Ryan jokes with me. He used to be a drill sergeant. He was, and so he's like, "You would have made a great drill sergeant," because there's so many times where I want to come in and just be like, "You guys are so dumb. I don't even know why you breathe." Like, obviously I can't, and obviously Kim is not one of those people. But I have had some really bad employees where I'm just like,
What the heck is wrong with you?
how have you made it this far in
Yeah.
life? Like, I don't even think you know how to tie your shoes. Like, that's, and so I've had to learn how to talk to people better. And I still have some work for sure on that.
But you're aware of it and you're growing.
I am aware of it, yeah. And I definitely have a lot more patience than I used to. In this last year, I've developed patience. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people in the office would say, still pretty thin, still some thin patience. But compared to where I was, I think I'm doing pretty good. And my temper, I mean, I got red hair. It's hard to control this temper sometimes, but I've gotten much better at controlling that and not directing that at somebody when they mess up. My mom, she used to work for Disney for a long time, and so she gives me Disneyisms, so that to help, she's like, just take a deep breath and take a step back and maybe look away for a second and then respond, and stuff like that, like count to 5 in your head.
And I know when
So
you're in the moment too, you don't want to hear that.
no, not at all. In the moment, I just want to be like, look here. You're always messing this up. This is the 17th time I've told you the same thing. Why can't you not figure it out? But that is a something that I learned I'm not good at, that I thought I was pretty good at.
So I think this kind of hits a little bit too on the next thing I want to ask is how you've seen yourself grow in this past year of owning a business. And so maybe like what are some of the things, like you've already kind of hit on a couple, right, like your patience and stuff like that, but what are some ways that you've seen yourself grow or improve since starting a business? Just how do you see yourself differently?
So many ways. This last year has completely reshaped everything. Like literally everything. I look at things so different. Because you've instead of being a worker bee, I'm the queen bee now. You know what I mean? And so you got to look at life differently. It's not that you can't go out and enjoy a weekend and things like that, but looking back on like old me, right?
Hmm.
Young me, younger me, I was living life more for the fun times and
Hmm.
not looking at the big picture. Versus now I'm like always looking at the big picture. I still have fun. I've traveled more this year than I have probably in my entire life because I have more of that freedom. But in that traveling, I'm also working.
It's more
And
intentional now, I think.
I think so. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's more intentional. Um, like you said, my patience. I think I don't know. I don't. It's hard to put words to it. And
Hmm.
my dad kind of hit the nail on the head. We were talking about something, and he just looked at me, and he goes, "I am so proud of you." And I was like, "Okay, thanks. Why?" um, and he was like, "Cause a couple years ago, you would have reacted
Hmm.
completely different." He was like, "You're a completely different woman." He's
Hmm.
like, "Your heart, your core is still exactly the same." He's like, "But you've grown and matured, and he's like, it's just amazing to have witnessed that, like who you were versus who you are. Because now, I mean, I wouldn't say calm. Calm, I don't think is a good word to describe me, but I'm more calm than I would have been when it comes to things. I mean, I was in Delaware, what was that, 3 weeks ago, maybe, roughly, and I got a call from my roommate saying that my dog ate my door, one of my bedroom doors. She got locked in a room on accident and had a anxiety attack in there and ate half of the door. And 2 years ago, I probably would have lost it. And I was just like, well, she got out, so she's no longer stuck in there. That's cool. I'll look and see how much it costs to replace this door, and we'll get it taken care of. Like, so calm. And she was like, I smoked 3 cigarettes before I called you, thinking you were gonna flip out. What the hell?
Chain smoking.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think owning a business, so many things mess up or get mixed up or construed, or it doesn't go according to plan, like, at all. That now it's just like, okay, it is what it is. What's the solution? How do we fix it? Let's keep moving.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess in the business, right? Like, you can't just freak out. You can't be emotionally reactive because you have to solve problems so that the business continues forward. Yeah. I think an interesting thing that you said there is how your father said your heart and your core is the same, which that's such a cool thought if you think about it, right? It's that you haven't changed who you are, like your beliefs, your core, right? All of that, but you have grown and improved in different ways and evolved. So you're still true to who you are and what you do and what you believe, but you're just evolving in these new ways and growing in these new ways that people are seeing that, and that they still see you. You're just a better version of you, right? Like, and I think that's really awesome that people see that around you, because we don't always feel it, right? We don't always feel the growth or see the growth in ourselves, but then you get that moment, like you just got stopped in your tracks and you're like, oh, okay. And then it's that, right? Like, we don't realize the way that we change as we do things. And, I think definitely agree with you. I'm still new in it, but owning a business definitely does change your perspective on things. It changes the way you approach stuff, right? It's like, I just kind of what we're going through right now is just, I don't know, the way I describe it, we're at the end of our savings because we had enough money set aside for X number of months because we knew we weren't going to make a ton of money in the beginning. So we planned for that. And same thing, try to get business loans because there are supplies and subscriptions and stuff that we need. But it was, oh, well, we really need you to be in a business 6 months to a year before we can talk about a loan. I'm like, cool. How? Like, and, so we're getting to the end of our savings that we had set aside. And yes, there's stress, there's pressure, but it's interesting because I've described it as it's a different type of stress. Like, we don't have the guaranteed money coming in, right? Like if we had a 9 to 5, but there's just this odd, I guess the best way to describe it, there's this odd piece that knowing we're on the right path, we're on the right track, this is what we're supposed to be doing, and things show up when they need to show up. The bills are getting paid, we're figuring things out, and it's not this, there's no longer this sense of dread, I guess you could say. When I was working my old job and before that, there was this sense of dread every day going to work, and you're doing something for somebody else, and the stresses are different, right? They eat at you and keeps you up at night. Whereas now, there's still stress, there's still challenges, but I'm not like dreading, oh my gosh, we have to do this, or we have to do this, right? It's just, it's motivation. I'm motivated to move forward and to push for things, because again, I know that all the effort that I put in right now and that Rachel puts in, it's going to pay off because it's for us. It's for our business. So
exactly. You're going to eventually reap what you sow.
Yeah. So I think we can wrap this up. We've been talking for a good minute now. What advice do you have for people that are starting their own business, or maybe they're just trying something new, right? They're doing something different. And what advice would you give to yourself if you were talking to you about starting a business or at the beginning of things?
Don't give up and don't overthink it.
That overthinking, that's a big one.
Yep.
Wow. Don't give up and don't overthink it. I mean, I don't know if there's any better way to wrap things up with advice. Really, with anything you do, right? Don't give up and don't overthink it. Because I think it's so
Yep.
easy for us to get into our minds and
Oh
overthink it.
gosh, yeah.
And yeah, well, I mean, hey, thank you so much for jumping on and doing this. Love the
Absolutely.
conversation. I got a ton. Like I've got a page and a half of notes here, just from listening to you talk about your business and how you've done everything. And I think there's so many really good principles that people can pull from this, even just in their life, right? Like if they're doing something new, something different, whether it's what I see here is you've got your beliefs, you've got your values that you stick to, your reputation, your integrity. You've got a strong support system. You sometimes you need people to talk to you and refocus you,
Hmm.
and budget. That one I have in all
Yes.
caps.
Yep.
Very smart to budget and stick with that, and then try to hone in on things. Right, like you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everything to everybody. And then let's see. I mean, and then also, wrap it up with just don't give up and well, it was don't give up and don't overthink.
Don't overthink it. Yep.
Yeah, I think great advice, Ashley. Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this, and it's funny that like we finally were able to sit down and have a conversation like this. We've known each other for so long, and man, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you can have me back anytime.
I'm sure I will because I think there's a lot of other stuff we can talk about that we didn't even get to on this podcast. Because we can even talk more about just your personal journey and your personal life. This was, I think, a great
That's,
mix of business with personal growth.
yeah.
But yeah, I know you've lived a life,
I
so
have done that. I know. I'm not very old, but man, I've got some stories.
yeah, I think that'd be great. I'd love to get you on for just because I think this podcast will fit well with my Insights podcast and the business podcast. Oh gosh, that's one thing I forgot to ask you. I mean, you kind of hit on it. I was because one thing I want to do with the business side of the podcast is talk about marketing and media and how that fits into what you do, and how it's helped you grow. So we can tack that on at the end here. But because I know you mentioned that you did the magazine, which was not financially
No,
responsible idea.
that did not help at all. There was like zero ROI.
But what about like how has social media or anything like that played into your business growth, especially now since you're a year in? I know you mentioned at the beginning that you're now starting to think about some other avenues or some other things, but how has that helped you grow, or has it?
To be honest, I don't think we've done enough of it to really see what we're hoping for.
Hmm.
We had, like I said, we're doing our first ad spend on Facebook for a maintenance plan that we've got that we're rolling out. And that's going to be for Black Friday sale for that, and so that's kind of going to be our field test to see what we get
Hmm.
from the ad spend on that. So I don't really have a whole lot of that
Hmm.
yet, but we will be tracking that, and I will have a better answer for you later down the road.
I think we can do another episode later where we come back to that maybe and talk about how that
Absolutely.
worked or didn't work. Hopefully it works. I
I
think
hope so.
I think so. Let's cross our fingers. We're hoping that it's going to work.
Yep.
But yeah, so because you built your business a lot on reputation, but then you started
Yes.
to get out there. So maybe that, like when your business started to grow, how did you find new business?
So a lot of our marketing is actually door to door. So we knock doors, especially like if we're doing an installation in a neighborhood.
Hmm.
I go knock on the neighbors' doors. If they have damage that I can see from the ground, I knock on the door and say, hey, Miss Smith over here just got her roof replaced through her insurance. She only, only had to cover her deductible. When you look at it that way, I mean, the average roof in Columbia is $15K. Average deductible is $1,000. That a roof for $1,000 ain't too bad. So usually people are like, yeah, cool, climb on up. I do a thorough inspection. If they don't have enough damage, I tell them that.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why we have such a good reputation is I'm super honest about it. If I climb up there and I don't have enough damage for you to warrant calling in a claim, I'm not going to push that. I'm not going to tell you to do so. And that's what I teach all of my guys as well.
That's important, right? I think especially nowadays when we talk about authenticity and transparency, it's so often people just want to sell you something, right? They want to make a buck.
Yeah.
And so now the norm is no longer being honest with people. The norm now is getting your money. So when you sit down, like we've had that consultation with people, we've sat down with some people and talked to them about what they want to do. And like, you know what, honestly, I don't know if we're the best fit for this right now. Like what you want to do is kind of more simplified. So, because we just did this recently with a client. We sent over a big idea that they had, because when we had the first consultation, they were talking about doing a podcast, and they were talking about doing this and that. I was like, cool, I'll put together a proposal for you. And the proposal had social media marketing and management. It had podcasting on there. It had all this stuff, like even content creation, because he's got different people that would need stuff. And then you get in, he's like, yeah, that's just kind of a lot, and it's too big for right now. I was like, well, it's what you asked for, but I didn't say that. It was, okay, well, hey, let's simplify it down. What do you need right now? What's going to, be the best for you right now? And so we had another conversation and scaled things to what he needed versus what he wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. Big difference there.
And then that's the thing, right? So you have that conversation and people are like, oh man, you actually care about listening to me and what I want to do. And then you build trust and that word spreads and, continue to build that reputation, right? Because reputation's everything nowadays.
It sure is.
Anybody can do the job, but why should you work with me, right? You have 28 something roof companies in your area. And so you really are, giving people a reason like why you should work with us, because this is how we do business. This is, how we handle things. And they see that. And again, then you create more referrals. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That's awesome. We'll wrap it up with that. I think great advice all around. Great perspective, and it's cool like looking at different industries because there's so much you can pull from different industries. Like I never would have thought of, let me sit down and talk to someone in the roofing industry, and but still you get business ideas and advice from that conversation. Like I said, I got a page and a half of notes here, and it's all stuff that I can apply to my business and just even the way I approach things. So hopefully somebody else that listens to this will hear something and maybe it'll help them change their perspective or shift things. And do better and, make the change that they need to make. Or sometimes you don't know and then you hear something and it clicks and you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. So, yeah. Awesome. Well, that's a wrap.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Insights into a Soul. If you enjoy this podcast, please share it with a friend and leave us a comment on the podcast page. If you want to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram at insightsintoasoul_official or send us an email, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com.